Here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to SEC State of Mind, presented by FanDuel. I am Taylor Davis. He's Jason Campbell, and backed by popular demand, we are so thrilled to be joined once again by the one and only David Pollack, host of C-Ball Get Ball. What's up, David? The last time we had you, we were just getting going in season. Now we're heading into an all-important Week 12. I mean, there's been some chaos this season. Let's just start there.
Just a little bit. I mean, Jason's team's looking for a coach, which is not abnormal, I guess, for Jason and company.
That's true.
No, I mean, you think about all the struggles for certain people, the bounce backs. You look at, if you look at Georgia to start the season, we're like, whoa, wait a minute, like a lot of holes. Can they be who they're going to be? You look at Alabama, you're like, wait, they suck. No, wait a minute, they're really good. Vanderbilt going through their ups and downs. Texas starting off the way they did. So it's been kind of a nuts league, man, and it's just getting started probably with the playoffs too, with A&M being at the top, and then whatever we're going to finish with here down the stretch. Because Texas is, to me, right in position where they're the 3-loss team that can be the first in the history to make it. Like, if they beat Georgia or A&M, they're in the playoffs to me. Yeah. And so, like, you've got that factor along with Oklahoma. If they beat Alabama, they're in. Like, Ole Miss is sitting pretty. Like, Hotty Toddy's sitting there be like, yeah, we got to take care of Florida, who looks like last week they punted on the season. And then we beat Mississippi State, and we're in. So, man, there's a lot left to be. But where we started and where we're at is kind of crazy, because you look at all the preseason guys we talked about, like Nussmeier and Lagway and company, and we're like, oh, yeah, okay, well, those guys are good, but it's Marcel Reed and it's others that we could go through the list of people that have been balling and playing really well, Ty Simpson and company.
Yeah, well, currently Garrett Nussmeier is on the bench, so not exactly what I saw coming from those teams. But, Jay, as I kind of tee you up on what he pointed out, some things that weren't expected, some of the Vanderbilt and other storylines that have come into play, but some that has been expected. And once again, we're sitting here talking about teams like Georgia and Alabama. Like, it does still feel like the big brands, the big dogs are taking care of business, but what's to come in the next couple of weeks is going to be very impactful, not just for an SEC title push, but also playoff contention. What kind of stands out to you right now about the ones at the top?
Well, you think about the teams at the top, A&M is separating themselves. They look like a well-balanced football team. You think about a team that can run the ball. When the weather gets a little bit chilly and outside, you better be able to run the ball, and you better be able to play great defense, and they can do that. And they have a quarterback that's involved as part of their run game. And he didn't even have a rushing touchdown this past weekend because he stood in the pocket and made plays from the pocket. Yeah. So I like what A&M is doing. Alabama, I'm a little nervous because they're not running the ball successfully.
True.
And at all. I guess that LSU team, if they're able to generate any touchdowns early in that ball game instead of having to kick field goals, you could have put some pressure on the Alabama team. So Alabama's got to get back to learning how to run the football if they want to contend for a championship. You think about Ole Miss. Ole Miss is like there's no pressure on them right now. They played the Citadel, so they got a chance to get basically a bye week. So they're getting healthy, getting strong. But they better not sleep on Mississippi State at the end of the year. You saw this happen to Ole Miss 2 years ago, I believe it was. Had a chance to get in the playoffs, they lose to Mississippi State. So that game is always a rival game. You just never know. And even with Alabama, they got to come to Auburn the last regular season game, and Auburn's still trying to play to get into a bowl game. Right. Yeah. So they have to beat Mercer. And then if they can win the Bama game, they're in a bowl game. So it's just so much going on at the top. But then I think about Texas. Everyone had them preseason number 1. And then all of a sudden they dropped out the top 25. And then they won a few games. They're back in the top 25. Manning is playing a little bit better. He struggled against Florida, but he's playing better now. This is a big weekend. Texas and Georgia this week, to me, is playing to stay in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think the loser is definitely out. I don't see Texas beat Georgia. They're getting in as a 3 team. But Georgia cannot afford to lose this game, David.
neither one are out with a loss. Neither
one.
You don't think one's out with a loss.
So let's think about this. So you've got Georgia. if Georgia loses to Texas, Texas now moves up in the top 10. Georgia's lost to 2 top 10 teams. They're not going below the Mendoza line. They're going to be in the playoff, 100%. Yeah. If you've got Texas that loses and beats number 3 A&M to finish the season, and their one out-of-conference loss is to Ohio State, who they choose to go across the country and go play, who's the number 1 team in the country, if that keeps you out, the committee can kick rocks. Like, go kick rocks, bro. Because everybody else in the country, if they'd have played Ohio State, would have lost. And Texas's resume would probably deem worthy of being in the playoff. I think they would 100% be in the playoffs. So I don't think the loser's out. Wow. That's what's cool. We're going to come down to the last part of the season. But here's the thing about the top. A&M. Man, like, to be a quarterback for A&M, when you throw it to 4-3, and you throw it to 4-3, and you can hand it to Beast in the backfield. You got 6'6", 350 in front of you. I mean, just big and strong across the board. And you're 4-4. You talk about dangerous. Like A&M, when they got the ball, man, they are 1 millisecond away from going the distance. And Jason, what you said was right. It gets colder. Well, they can hand the jet sweep to Craver, to Concepcion. They can throw the screen pass to Concepcion like they did last week, and it goes for 60. Like, it's an easier style to run. They have more balance. You're absolutely right about Alabama. I want to see the run game more, but I will say I love the way the defense is trending this direction, playing better, stronger. But when you look at this league, man, I think you're getting at least 4 in the playoff, and with a chance to get more, which is crazy because if you look at the teams that are in the top, Alabama and Georgia, those teams, if they lose, they're still Ole Miss. They're still going to be ranked ahead of these 2 lost teams. Yeah. Like, well, see,
Georgia still gets to play Georgia Tech, right? So you're right that even if they lost to Texas, which I don't think they will, but even if they lost to Texas, I think they still get Georgia Tech, who's still a good team.
Yep. And they got to win 1 out of 2 of those big games.
If they win Georgia Tech, they're still in. Texas, you lose this game, it's just hard for them to get in. I just see it with 3 losses on the schedule. And you still got to play A&M. I just don't see.
But I'm saying you beat A&M, so now you got a top 5 win. You got a top 15 win with Oklahoma. You're comparing resumes with everybody else now, and you're going to have to bring into account. I lost to number 1. I lost to number 5. So what? Like, so would everybody else. Like that. I think that would be a part of the
A&M. You get Georgia, you get Ole Miss, and you get Alabama. You're saying they're gonna put 5 in there with Texas if they lose to Georgia.
At least 4 is getting in.
At least 4 is getting in.
But I'm saying if Oklahoma beats Alabama this weekend, Oklahoma's getting in, dog.
That's the team we're not talking about. They're in it too.
Like, yes, like, welcome to this world. Like, it's going to happen. You've got to, like, the ACC is a cluster. Someone has to go from the ACC.
They're imploding.
It's clearly right now that Texas Tech is going to be the team from the Big 12. Obviously, Indiana and Ohio State are getting in. It's really a matter of, can Oregon run the table, which I don't think they will, because they still have got several tough games with USC and Washington. They're going to lose again. Their best win is Iowa, which is a solid win. Their next best win is Northwestern. Like, they lost by double digits at home. Texas lost going across the country to Ohio State at a conference and lost by 7. They played them. They're the only team that played them really, really well. And you could argue Texas and Arch and company on offense was way worse than they are now. So, like, there's plenty of teams in this SEC that are very much still alive.
So then where does that Florida loss fall in the perception?
Well, I mean, it hurts for sure. It's definitely one of those things that's going to hold against them. And I think the bad losses a lot of times mean more than the big wins sometimes, which, like, those losses can sometimes be like an anchor that pulls you down. Yeah. But again, we're going to start comparing all these teams with, the second best team in the ACC. Like,
please,
Texas is in. Like, there's no doubt, right? Like,
based on how they got it set up, Memphis or whoever wins that group of 5, that is automatic bid, right?
Yeah.
So that hurts.
Okay, so we're getting into a very dicey situation with the American Conference as well, because you've got University of South Florida, who I think is a scary good team. Byron Brown is legit. You've got North Texas, who actually has the easiest path out of those that are left.
Tulane.
Tulane, you've got ECU that is still kind of on the outside looking in, and USF has Navy this weekend. I'll be on the call for that one. And Navy is not an easy team defensively to prepare for. So weird things are happening in the American. And then, oh, by the way, JMU is still sitting there going, hey, we're still here in the conversation. And as the ACC continues to implode, I'm not convinced that an ACC champion is actually going to be considered better than some of these group of 5 contenders. So it really is all going to have to shape out in the next few weeks. But I think, to y'all's point, the SEC kind of having this much parity may actually benefit the conference getting more into the playoff because of what is all transpiring outside of the conference.
Because also, gonna hate though. Big Ten is gonna hate. They're gonna say why the SEC get
haters
5.
Gonna hate.
They only got 2 teams in their whole conference right now.
Yes,
yeah.
Right.
Indiana and Ohio State.
You're also Vanderbilt is still in the conversation as well, and they do have a path forward. I mean, Kentucky. What do we make of what has happened the past couple of weeks with Kentucky? I'm not entirely sure, but Tennessee falls out of it, and so Vanderbilt still has that in their sights too. All of these teams with 2 losses or less, like we are still very much in the conversation with 7 SEC teams.
And Tennessee could help Vandy. If Vandy beats Tennessee at the end of the year, obviously that's a big deal and another feather in the cap because they're a ranked team. Either one of those teams, when they beat the other one, is going to be it's going to boost them up, a little bit more. If you look at Tennessee too, Mount, let's not forget they lost in OT. At home, and then obviously the Oklahoma game was a super close game where you could argue they blew their own foot off, like literally probably 5 of the toes. They probably hit them all, right? But here's the thing: I'm not putting them in by any stretch. But I'm just saying the parity does help. Washington losing last week in the Big Ten, they gone. They're out, losing to Wisconsin. Iowa losing, they're gone. So now you've got the 3 in the Big Ten, which is Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State. Oregon is not a lock. It is absolutely not a lock. BYU, what do? Does BYU rally, finish the season strong? If BYU beats Texas Tech, they're both in. Yeah. Texas Tech, if they beat them in the Big 12 championship game, they're probably both in. So, there's outside circumstances, but if you don't think the SEC is getting 4, and I'm saying bare minimum, there's a great chance you're getting 5. I'd be shocked.
Yeah, SEC automatically going to get 4. They have to, right? They're going to get 4. I'm just saying it'll be a long shot.
You can mark 2 in pen. You can mark 2 right now in pen. Yeah, Ole Miss is in. Texas A&M is in.
I agree.
Because Florida looks like they've punted. They're done. They've quit. So both of them being in. Now you got Georgia, you got Alabama, you got Texas, you got Oklahoma, you got Vandy that are all going to be right there on the edge. If Oklahoma can beat Alabama, Texas makes them they're going to be in, man. So they're right there.
Alabama game. Where's that game at this weekend?
At Alabama.
At Alabama. Yeah. So if Oklahoma lose their game, they're out, right? Mm-hmm. Now, my argument is Vanderbilt's a better team than BYU. They are.
Okay.
But the Big 12 is going to have a huge argument that is BYU plays Texas Tech in the championship game, that how you going to penalize a team that lost in the championship game while another team was sitting at home?
Well, here's the thing, and this is where you want people in the room that are good and that watch this. And my thing would be okay, we would get into all the whys. Why are they better? What are you watching? What are you seeing? Vanderbilt has a lot more that they've done. Vanderbilt has become explosive in the passing game the past couple of weeks. Vanderbilt's played a lot better competition. They're very similar when it comes to they're both physical. They're both tough. Vanderbilt's quarterback is a seasoned guy that makes plays. It's a playmaker versus Bear Bachmeier, who's he's a growing freshman. He's a freshman. He's going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Let's look at the losses. Vanderbilt barely lost to Alabama. Very good football game. They barely lost to Texas. Good football game. Texas Tech just clubbed BYU. It was 26-0 in the fourth quarter. It was over. It was not competitive. That's going to be taken into account too. A close loss versus a bad loss. The wins will be taken into account. So all of that will matter. But if BYU goes in the Big 12 championship game against Texas Tech and gets clubbed again, dude, we've seen you against 2 good teams. And you've been beaten senseless. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. We've seen everything we need to see at that point.
And they lost on the road too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot is going to be made of the next few weeks, and that's ultimately what you want. Jay loves to say you want to be playing meaningful games in November. November to remember? Well, look no further than the SEC. David, it would be an absolute miss if I didn't ask your opinion on the craziness that has been the coaching carousel so far this season, an unprecedented time, the most coaches let go by November in the FBS era, obviously 4 of which residing in the Southeastern Conference. Jay and I's alma mater, Auburn being one of them, along with LSU, Florida, Arkansas. Names are being thrown around rampantly, some of which being in the SEC currently. What's kind of your pulse on these current openings and reasonable traction that you see with certain candidates?
Well, obviously, what you're talking about is Lane gets asked about at every single press conference he does.
Well, now he's going to the NFL, so
yeah, now he's going to the Giants all of a sudden.
So.
Listen, the one thing I've known Lane for years, man, and I talk to Lane probably more than any coach in college football, just because I'm very proud of the journey he's gone on to find himself and to find what's important. And I think we all find our way through different paths, and that dude got offered a head coaching gig at like 30 years old, man. I mean, in the NFL, youngest to ever do it. Like, and he's learned from his lessons, and I love that he's happy. I love where he's at. I think that he makes sense at LSU. He makes sense at Florida right away. He'd make sense anywhere, right? Because you know he'd win and he'd bring. And here's the thing about Lane that people don't understand and get. All the rule changes benefit coaches or hurt coaches. Nick Saban left the game because it hurt Nick Saban. Like NIL and transfer portal did not help Nick Saban. That hurt the way he wants to coach, the way he wants to build, the way he recruits.
Yeah.
It very much helps Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin ain't sleeping on recruits' couches. Lane Kiffin ain't beating down doors. That's not his thing. Yeah. Now, Lane Kiffin will develop his guys and build great relationships with his players, hence why he'll retain most of those guys, and they're not going to leave consistently. He understands the business. Billy, as his GM, is elite, like really, really good. So, like, he's got it figured out. He's got it going. Would I be surprised if he went to Florida or LSU? Yeah, I would. But I also know that green is green, and it talks. But I think that Ole Miss will probably, be right there for it. So to me, it's who are the names besides those names that you can point to. Summerall is a guy that you got to figure playing at Kentucky, coaching at Tulane, familiar with the league, been there, done that with NIL, knows how to win. He's got some something to him, some substance. I think he's a guy that you'll probably hear at one of these jobs. But the LSU, the all the stuff that's gone on there, like, man, is it going to be interesting to see who wants that job now, and all the stuff that comes with it. But I do think, and I've said this on my show a bunch. Like, first of all, I got really pissed at people when they started talking about Auburn not being a good job. I'm like, really? Like, and I'll do this because y'all are Auburn alum, obviously, so it doesn't hit people think bias, whatever. Auburn's a great job. Yeah. The list of coaches, the list of schools in the last 15 years to play for 2 national championships is Alabama, is Georgia, is Ohio State, is Clemson, is Oregon, is Notre Dame, and it's Auburn. That's it. And Auburn has won one, Oregon and Notre Dame has not. So you're talking about, now here's what the thing about football that's changed. NIL and business has changed. It's no longer, let's just put a fence around the state of Louisiana. That's how LSU's been so great for so long. That's how they run despite Les Miles. That's how they won despite Ed Orgeron. Yeah. Those coaches both won championships because the talent is so good. The talent ain't just staying home no more. This is business. This is general managers. This is developing systems where I'm going to pay these players, how I'm going to pay these players. And so I think when we're making hires, I want to make sure that it goes along those lines, that I have people that have made those decisions, that understand what's going on in the room. It's a lot harder to take a flyer on an OC, on a DC. Like, it's not the same world anymore now. Like, so how much have you learned from your bosses? Because we're still, like, this NIL, like, once you put transfer portal with NIL, we took lighter fluid and we sprayed it all over the fire, bro. And it just got hot. And so I think now it's starting to cool down. The rules are starting to be in place, but there's still a lot of newness because the goalpost has been moved. And it's been really hard to be a coach in this era.
And I would say this, You just mentioned a lot of great points, and Taylor and I talk about this a lot. So at the end of the season, signing day is 4 days after the last regular season game, right? And now teams that make the coaches' decisions on who they're going to hire have got about 4 days to get on the phone with recruits and either keep them committed or see if they can get some guys to come. And then a month after that, transfer portal is open from January 2nd to January 16th. So now you got a speed date very quickly. It's not like
That's
you
a good way to put
these
it.
guys here.
Yeah.
Speed dating.
Sit down. Hello.
Yeah.
I like popcorn.
Right.
I like warm hugs.
Just to see if they get in school. But then if a Lane Kiffin was to leave, now Ole Miss is in a terrible spot because now they got to hurry up and try to find a coach and keep recruits and retain their roster. That's why I say they either got to move. So I get that you want kids to enroll in school in January. I get that. So move it from December the 4th to maybe December 20th, somewhere around there to give schools time to make their hires, time to get on the phone with these kids, time to recruit their own roster before they have to figure out what's the next step before transfer portal opens. It's like everything's going to happen at a massive quick time. And if you're not prepared,
Jay, I think that's why everybody's firing coaches the way they are.
Yeah.
I think they're getting rid of them because they're like, we got to get ahead of this. We got to get our guy in place because of that.
But what does it mean for the coaches that are going to be participating in the postseason? Like, if Lane is a serious contender, you're not getting that news by the time that signing day hits. Are you kidding?
Well, and here's the thing about that. Like, another thing to go with that is if you get Lane, you're going to get most of his roster at Ole Miss. That's another thing. So that's an added benefit. But here's the thing, Jason, you remember because we're officially old now. But like back in our day, man, like signing day was a big deal. Like people showed up at the facility. Don't nobody care about signing day. High school signing day is minimalized like crazy. Like they're signing 14 kids now. Like they're not signing that many because the transfer portal, like all those kids that were those borderline kids, I could take this kid and I could develop him. Yeah. They're not taking him anymore. Go somewhere else, go develop, and I'll pay you out of the portal. Like, and then certain positions are really good to be in versus other positions because, you know, the big body guys are big transfer portals. Like I can go get a fully grown, fully developed defensive lineman, offensive lineman who's been in the weight room, who's been in college, who has their man body as opposed to an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old. So there's strategy in that. Like all of this stuff, man, it's a fast work. I want the transfer portal to be after spring.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I would love to have the transfer portal.
Well, the thing is, right?
Have signing day, have transfer portal after spring or even before spring if you want to do it. If you want to do it in May, do it in May.
Yeah.
Right. I would say do the transfer portal. I don't like the transfer portal after spring just because of being involved with the NIL space. You set your roster right in spring. You go through spring and all of a sudden you say, okay, we got this guy at number 1, this guy at number 2. This is our third string people. And now you're gearing up for the season. But then as soon as the spring ball is over with, if you put out a depth chart, first, second, third string early in spring, you already got half your guys checking out, looking to transfer as soon as spring is over. So now I'd
like to do it in the spring before the spring game. Yeah. I'd like to do it in May, and then you have your whole team for spring, and then you go on about your business and you can build your roster. I don't love it so close to high school recruiting.
Right. And I think you still build your roster through high school because you got to build a culture in your locker room. Because if I got a kid that came in together and I got, over time, 30, 40 kids that came in together, there's going to be a brotherhood there, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, think about when we played. You build brotherhood with guys that you still have relationships with today. That's got to be the nucleus of your locker room. Anybody I bring in a transfer portal, it got to be someone that's a needed position that I can't hit on, that I didn't hit on in high school. And, hey, we got to have a need this year until we can hit on that. Because you bring transfer guys in, Davey, you know this, and Taylor know this. Half of them coming for the biggest offer, right? So you don't know what type of character you're going to get him because you're speed dating. So you don't have enough time to date the kid to really know him or what's his personality is. So you're taking a risk on a guy, and then you get in these big games, and the transfer guy doesn't show up because he's doing things he shouldn't be doing, getting all these crazy penalties. It's because he doesn't understand the culture. He didn't come there for the culture. He came there because it was the highest offer. So you got to make sure that you're getting guys also that's not the highest bidder, but that they actually fit your program and they fit your locker room, because if not, they can disrupt your locker room as well.
I agree with the fit. I don't agree with high school football anymore because I think it's basically 50-50 now.
Yeah.
Like I think you need to get those. You still need to have those kids that you're developing. Those kids that are going to come in that are going to be stars. Because the bottom line is, here's the math. I have more 5 stars than you. I have more guys going to the NFL. I'm a better coach than you. Like really quickly, I'm a better coach than you. Like in the old school days, Nick used to keep those guys on the 3rd string, 4th string, develop them. They start for 1 or 2 years, go to the NFL, or 1 year, go to the NFL, and they're still a first round pick. That ain't happening no more. These guys are spreading out because they want to go get their money, which they should, go maximize their opportunities. So high school recruiting has definitely changed. And listen, we're also seeing different ways to do it. I mean, look at Indiana. I mean, it's fascinating. I'm fascinating to see if the return on investment is consistent because he had insider knowledge into JMU and what he built, bringing guys over. He hit on the quarterback a couple of times. Like that's perfect. That's a perfect storm. Will it continue? I don't think so. I don't think so. So you do have to still have the high school recruiting at the high level and those kids that are studs. But I think the developmental piece of other guys, like I'm going elsewhere and I'm supplementing big time. Did somebody leave? Did somebody get hurt in the past? Somebody didn't pan out. Okay, well, I need to go here and get it as opposed to in high school. I'll replenish with a couple of high 5-star kids, 4-star kids. But I'm going to make sure that for this season, we're good with a bunch of guys that have experience, that have played, that have been in the environment, that are grown-ups as opposed to kids that I'm projecting.
It's true. It's not a one-size-fits-all method. We know that. And I think examples like Zach Calzada, get off social media flashing the money like when you haven't done anything. Like the fit and the character is part of this thing. And there's real money being thrown around to guys that do not fit. So it's definitely a relative conversation right now.
Jason, we could have made some money, bro. We could have made some money, dog.
Bro, don't even talk about it, bro. Man, like
you would have had so many food NIL deals, Jason Campbell. It was not even funny.
See, I try to tell them though, you know what I'm saying? But I try to tell these guys, man, stop letting everybody have your ear.
Yeah.
Because I said not everyone is out for your best interest. Most of them are around you around you because what they can get from you. You know what I'm saying? So I say be sure that you keep people around you that doesn't want anything from you but success, so that way they can help communicate with you. And I said, and with that way, you got to keep people like that around you. If you don't, you will fail. I said, because the higher you go, the more friends that also you start to gather. And I said, you have to be careful, man, about who you give your ear to, and understand, if I want to be at this school, then tell that person you want to say to this school and just get it worked out. I said, don't move because somebody else, because they want to move you to get the most money for themselves and not the best situation for you.
Oh, yeah. Intention is at the root of all of it. Well, David Pollack is in high demand, so we are going to have to let him go. I did want to hit you with a couple things real quick, though. Did you see enough from Auburn that DJ Durkin is a real contender?
No.
Okay.
I didn't. I'll say it's a small sample size. It's not fair to say that, but I will say that his specialty, not giving up 24 points, and then all of a sudden you give up way over. The offense got better, so it was kind of a wash.
Totally.
But no, I didn't see enough to say, man, that's my guy. Like, finish the season, be competitive, in these games. Maybe Alabama can show us something, but I didn't see enough in one game, no.
Fair. Good answer. Okay, the other two obviously ahead this week. Jay and I will do a full preview on the other half of this episode, but you've got your blue bloods of the SEC facing the two newcomers, Oklahoma, Bama, Texas, Georgia. Upsets brewing, David Pollack, or not so fast?
I think I lean because both of the heavyweight contenders and champs are at home, which is very, very helpful. But I wouldn't be surprised if one of these two got this weekend. I mean, I think it absolutely could happen. Like, it's not like the difference between these teams are like they used to be. It used to be like here and here, right? Like with so much talent. Now, like, it's who's going to play great, who's going to make some mistakes. And when I look at Oklahoma, man, like, they've got that ability to pressure. And you saw a little bit with LSU and Alabama's one-dimensionalness. Like, now, Oklahoma last year, they ran the ball every single play down their throat with Jackson Arnold, which is why he got all that money from Auburn. And then Auburn's like, wait a minute. But hold up, wait a minute. Don't go there. But I think that I think one of the two will probably happen.
Okay. I don't hate that. Chaos ensues. We love that this time of year. Also, wanted to give the opportunity. A little birdie told me that you have a really cool event coming up through your foundation in Athens. I would love for you to tell our listeners a little bit more about it.
Yeah, my house looks like it's Christmas right now already. It's called the Banquet of Blessings, and we do it every single year. We rent out the Classic Center in Athens, and we literally bus in the homeless from the surrounding area, and then the underprivileged. Anybody who wants to come, like if you want to come, you're allowed to come. Yeah. And we feed a Thanksgiving feast Sunday the 23rd, and it's a throwdown. It's the pie, it's the whole works. It's the best food you can imagine. But everybody goes through these 2 different lines on the outside. Everybody gets a brand new coat, brand new sleeping bags, gloves, beanies, wool socks, book bags, toys, formula, like anything you can imagine. We kind of had the vision a couple years ago to make it like Christmas and let everybody know that they're loved. And it's so cool to watch my high school football team. They come and serve, and my girls basketball team. And I'm always like, listen, dudes, like you're not to blame for where you're at, but if you don't do it for someone, if you don't help someone else, you are, because you've been given a lot. Like make sure that you take some time to give back to some folks that aren't. So we do it on the 23rd. If you want to support it, you can. It's PollackFamilyFoundation.com. And we kind of got it on there. You can see it and see the videos of years past. It's one of the coolest things we've ever done.
That's awesome.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Well, David Pollack, a friend of the show, you're welcome here anytime. Thank you so much for providing us your time, your insight, your takes. It's always great chatting with you. So thanks for coming.
Appreciate y'all so much. Y'all stay safe this time of year with, all being an Auburn fan.
We're trying our best.
It's all work. It's all gonna work out. It's all gonna work out. We're gonna get it back together. But we'll be next on See Ball, Get Ball.
Yeah, baby.
JK, I'm on it. That's going to do it for us. We will be back with our previews here in just a little bit. Keep it locked on SEC State of Mind. Welcome in, everybody, to SEC State of Mind presented by FanDuel. I'm Taylor Davis. He is Jason Campbell. We welcome everybody into a crazy week of college football, week 12 ahead of us. And the SEC Dukes are up because everybody's going to have to start knocking each other out. The chips have started to fall a little bit, but you've got some real heavyweight battles that are ahead this week and postseason implications on the line for several SEC teams. But we are also joined this week, if you haven't already seen it, David Pollack, friend of the show, is joining us again this week, talking some of the biggest headlines, kind of pulse check of the SEC, some of the coaching moves, and the matchups ahead. So that episode should already be out. And if you missed it, go ahead and search that one. But today's episode with Jay and I is the typical standard SEC Standout SEC Siren Awards, as well as previews for what is to come in week 12. So I welcome in my co-host, Jay Cam. I'm going to give you the opportunity to give us your take on your travels this past weekend, because you traveled to your girl's home city, and unfortunately I was nowhere to be found. I hate how much we dodge each other during football season, but obviously Auburn with a strong showing in the aftermath of parting ways with Hugh Freeze just wasn't enough, losing in overtime against Vanderbilt here in Nashville. But kind of give us your take on the Tigers' response and bounce back under interim head coach DJ Durkin.
I'll say this. Nashville was awesome. I love Nashville. I enjoy it every time I go up. Food is great.
Great food.
Great food. If you're a music person, Broadway is cool. I kind of felt a little old on Broadway, though.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's like, dang, I don't feel like I belong.
It's like bachelor party capital.
Yeah, it's like everybody's on these party buses, and here I am up in the candy shop trying to get some dark chocolate candy and some caramel popcorn
before you go to bed.
Yeah, before I go to bed with the sugar rush. You know what I'm saying? So, but I enjoyed my time though. I also went by and got some health stuff done, got some IVs and some cryotherapy and all those different things. So you got to take care of yourself, So Nashville, you did me right. I appreciate you.
Good.
I appreciate you. Now, the hard part, again, Auburn lost.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but this was different. This was different. This team showed up and they played extremely hard. Mm-hmm. It just makes you wonder, right? Derek Nitz finally gets the opportunity to call the plays offensively, and the team looked more of a flow.
Yeah.
When you think about the passing concepts, how he was mixing the run in, I think 5 or 6 or 7 guys touched the ball in the passing game, and then you use Ashton Danes, who threw for over 350 yards, rushed for almost 90 yards, and 2 touchdowns there as well. Cam Coleman, 10 catches, 143 yards, touchdown.
Yep.
Eric Singleton over 100 yards and a touchdown. So you're talking about a lot of people moving ball. This is kind of what you expect to see from the Auburn offense at the beginning of the season all year, right? Because we talked about all the talent offensively that this team had, and defensively was where some of the question marks were. Like, what the linebacker core was going to look like. Dang, we ended up finding a dude,
a star. Yeah.
So, like Bryce Diaz, a really true freshman that's balling. Robert Williard, a senior that stayed at Auburn and waited to his turn, is having a great season. The Melendez kid, the freshman, balling. So defensively, like, man, these guys have kind of grew up fast, right?
Yeah.
But offensively, where your senior leadership is, where your experience was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel a little disappointed because you're like, dang, like I got to see this, but it happened in the 9th game of the season.
I know.
And everything. But I think for Auburn, they showed a lot of heart. I think they got an opportunity to finish the year strong.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing, like I said, is how they do with the coaching hire
and
retaining a lot of this roster. I think those are the next 2 most important things, right? But overall, though, man, the kids showed up. They played hard, and I say this: Vanderbilt's for real. Like, they took a punch early. They'll go down 14-3, and they took a punch. And Diego Pavia, watching him in person, it's nothing that's gonna make you just glamorous like he's a Lamar Jackson running up and down the field. But the guy plays so consistent; he barely makes mistakes, and he's so accurate throwing the football in tight coverages, and I respect that about him. And he's tough. He got hit a couple of times against Auburn, got up.
So gritty.
And, so I respect that fact of them. But Auburn, it really showed where this team, we are close, not in the way that we was saying it, but we are close in a way of talent wise. We're right there. Offensively, we weren't close the last 8 weeks, but this game, it showed like, okay, we are really there. If you don't revamp everything, but you got to find a way to figure out how to keep getting the next step and just start stacking some wins.
Yeah, it was definitely a totally different showing, which is actually why I give a lot of credit to Vanderbilt, because in a way they saw a team for a first time. Like, this was not the Auburn offense that has been on the field at all this season. So Vanderbilt's defense was forced to adjust in game. This was a completely different showing. Auburn put up over 560 yards of total offense. Like, that has not been even close. An entire second half against Georgia, almost an entire second half against Oklahoma, 3 points against Kentucky. Offense has been non-existent for Auburn. And then you show up in Nashville with this rhythmic, high-flying offense and a quarterback that makes you go, where the heck has this been? So I actually did give a lot of credit to Vanderbilt's defense in that they had to adjust a lot in game. No one had seen this from Auburn thus far this season. And you're absolutely right about Pavia. He just finds a way to get it done. And this week it was through the air. The passing game was really clicking for them. So, but I definitely think that Auburn, looking to the next steps, games like this, there's a lot to take away from. What does the actual sideline in-game management look like if DJ Durkin becomes full-time head coach? Well, there's more defensive staff members that are going to be put in place. Currently, he's operating as both coordinator and head coach. So in-game operations completely shift. So yeah, the defense was left a little bit without the same leadership that they're used to. But in terms of intensity, passion, direction, playing together, playing with your hair on fire, I saw that more in this week than I have all season from Auburn. And it's hard not to point to the fact that DJ Durkin was addressing that locker room. So I think that Auburn's administration is very much paying attention to how the players are responding and rallying to this situation as it goes on. But Vandy remains in the playoff conversation with that win, along with 6 other teams in the conference, crazy as it may seem. But Georgia, Ole Miss, Bama, Texas A&M, Texas, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, all still in the conversation with 2 losses or fewer, something that we really got into with David Pollack. So if you are curious about kind of the 30-foot view situation, 30,000-foot view, make sure you check out that episode. But we're going to get started the way we always do around here with our weekly awards, SEC Standout and SEC Siren. We will start out with the positive because we are positive around here. SEC Standout, what caught your attention? What impressed you the most coming out of week 11? And I'm going to go first because it's too easy of a transition. And I let Jason go first last week. So here we are. I can't not give it to Cam Coleman. Put it on a poster. Those back-to-back one-handed catches in the end zone, one for a 2-point conversion. My guy has ice in his veins. It was a true testament to the raw talent and athleticism that this guy is gifted with, matched with an in-game competitive fire that, like, that ball was going to find him. He was going to find that ball. Those two blew my mind. Just incredible.
Well, that's a great pick. He made the top 10 Sports Center this week with 2 catches.
Deserved.
And everything. And you also could have said Ashton Daniels, right? Ashton Daniels had over 350 yards passing, like I said, almost 90 yards, 2 touchdown passes, 2 rushing touchdowns, and had a 50-some yard touchdown call back.
Yep.
Like I said, hadn't been negated by penalties.
Yep.
And everything. But I'm going to have to go on the opposite side from being at the game. I'm going to have to go with Diego Pavia.
I like it.
The guy faced a tenacious defense, one of the top 5 defenses in college football, and he didn't flinch. He stood in there. He took hits. He took sacks. But the guy still threw for 377 passing yards.
Wow.
And rushed for another 112 yards and 4 touchdowns. So the last 2 games have now put him in Heisman consideration, right? So because I think the slow down offense was hurting Vanderbilt. There was a team that kind of, they used so much clock, and they try to just play defense and try to run the ball and just eat up clock, right? They play slow ball. All of a sudden, they came out doing it against Auburn. They found themselves down 14-3, and all of a sudden, they snapped and said, hey, we finna do what Auburn's doing. Because you notice Auburn, they went tempo.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt went tempo, and that's when they started spreading us out and started throwing the ball all over the place. And that's what Vanderbilt did in the second half against Texas a week before. That brought them back in that ball game. So if you're Vanderbilt, you're like, maybe we're our own Achilles heel by going too slow. Maybe we should open up our offense and start to go tempo and let Diego Pavia deal the ball and run the ball, because he earned Auburn's respect and everything. But I think Auburn learned a lot, got a respect as well from nationally from people watching the game, saying, dang, like, how could all of a sudden the offense change in three days?
Yeah.
Like the look like this. So just a lot of things that went on Saturday and everything. But Diego Pavia, to me, was my SEC standout.
I like it. Each a standout from that game. We did not plan that, FYI. As we point out the good, we got to point out the bad. We're balanced around here. We look to SEC Siren, and mine is not necessarily a siren of last week. It's looking into this week. And I am hitting the SEC Siren on Kentucky, because Kentucky has seemed to find something the past couple of weeks. We all know you win at Jordan-Hare, get your first SEC win. It leads to a head coach fire. You bring that momentum with you into hosting the Florida Gators and make Florida look embarrassing. I mean, DJ Lagway throwing picks left and right. Florida almost looked like they gave up. I got to be honest. Like this is a Gators team that really looks very checked out. But Kentucky, given all the noise around Mark Stoops and his future and everything, it does feel like they've put something together. And this Cutter Boley guy at quarterback, I do think has a real shot at being their future. Once they figured out the quarterback conundrum and said farewell to Zach Calzada's mess, I think that they really started to find something in the past couple of weeks. And you have a really real opportunity in the coming weeks to close out season and end up bowl eligible, especially now that Louisville just fell. So there's something there. But Tennessee Tech is their opponent this week. And you may think FCS opponent, check it off, easy. Tennessee Tech is 10-0. They are undefeated on the year. Okay. I don't think anyone's paying attention to that conference very much. You see an FCS opponent against an SEC opponent, you immediately write it off. This team is undefeated. And as much as there has been good for Kentucky the last couple of weeks, you go back 4 or 5 weeks, this Kentucky team was not good. There was vulnerability and exposability all over the field. You slip and lose to Tennessee Tech, that noise goes right back up. So Kentucky, got to be careful.
Yeah, and Summerall name is tied to Kentucky still a lot, right? Because of the simple fact he played there and everything. But Stoops won 10 games at Kentucky a couple years ago. That's what warranted him the contract that he got. I think he probably found something. If you don't have a quarterback, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And, like Calzada was at A&M. It's not like he was great there,
No.
and then all of a
Or at
sudden
Auburn.
Auburn, he didn't get a chance to play really, right? He was hurt.
Yep.
And then he transferred to Kentucky, and the first time he got a chance to start back playing, it didn't go well, and then he ended up getting hurt again, right? So now you find something in the young kid that you got, that's from Kentucky. There
Mhm.
again, it's something to be said about kids from in-state that understand your school.
Yeah.
And that kid's from Kentucky, and now I was watching his show last night on SEC Network, and he was ramming off about how his family is so tied into Kentucky as far as
Yeah.
major fans, and that kid wants to be there. So I like the fact that Boley is he's growing up. I think he
Yeah.
got a lot of confidence in that Georgia game, and it just carried on
Agreed.
and everything. So I like that though. But you better be aware. You better be aware. Auburn went through that a couple of years ago. We lost to New Mexico State, so you
Exactly.
better be aware.
Exactly.
My siren, I could go one or two.
Okay.
I can go my alert siren. My alert siren is Oklahoma.
Okay.
Oklahoma, you're on the road this week. You're in Tuscaloosa. You're playing against an Alabama team that's been playing very well since the Florida State game. And they're struggling to run the ball a little bit, but they still can throw the ball. They're still playing really good defense. But Oklahoma,
Right.
you win this game, you put yourself back in the conversation of being in the playoffs.
Totally.
You lose this game, you're out.
Mhm.
So this is a defense that can get after the quarterback. So if you're Oklahoma, you got to say, okay, their best weapon is Ty Simpson throwing the ball.
Oh, yeah.
I would probably flip my thought process instead of you got to stop the run and say, no, we're going to stop the pass and we're going to see if you can run to beat us.
Yes.
My mindset would flip this week if I'm Oklahoma. So the alert siren is Oklahoma. My siren is Mississippi State.
Aw.
Like, what happened?
What
Like, you've been
happened?
playing so well at home. You took Tennessee to overtime. You took you beat Arizona State. You had Texas. You took them to overtime. You had that game won,
Mhm.
or roughing the passer call in fourth quarter. And then also you get a Georgia team. It's like, okay, you're trending upwards. Even though you're losing some games, you're still trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
But then you just didn't show up at all against Georgia.
That was bad.
Like your head coach is being talked about at Oklahoma State, as one of the, as filling that spot.
Yeah.
But you'll have a talented freshman quarterback behind Shapen that you got to retain, right?
Mhm.
He's a talented quarterback, but you can't get blown out like that at home in
Yeah.
November.
Yeah.
Like you was trending upward. So Mississippi State, you got to try to find a way to finish the year out strong and get back to playing hard. You can't lay L's like that when you're trying to get yourself back up in the SEC and everything.
I totally agree, especially when, like you said, they've been right there. I mean, I really felt like that one had true upset potential. And so to not even really see them put up much of a fight, but it does beg the question, did they get Georgia when Georgia hits that next level? Because all season it has felt like Georgia was vulnerable and Georgia was teetering on somebody's about to get Georgia, because there's just not that level of domination that we're seeing out of Texas A&M right now. But Kirby knows how to play the long game. I mean, seriously, the two teams that are going to be playing in the national championship, as much as we all feel like we're on the back end of season, they have so long to go. Like, they are very much at the halfway point for those two teams. Kirby plays the long game. Kirby knows how to play the mental game of this thing, how to play the timeline of this thing, so that he gets his team to peak at the right time. Because if you peak too early, it can actually be detrimental to your team. So here we are tapping into the second week in November. You're sitting pretty for the playoff, but like got a few more you really need to show out. Now is when we go. Like, I think that this week is going to be very telling how much of last week's result was Mississippi State laying an egg or Georgia elevating. And I think that a better barometer is going to be what they do against Texas.
Yeah, because Mississippi State, the reason we had Georgia on alert last week was because Mississippi State can throw the football. They challenged every secondary. right? And we said, okay, that's Georgia's secondary has not been playing well. So we
Yep.
was like, okay, they're going to Mississippi State. They can throw the ball around. That's a dangerous game. And what they do is you go in there and they handle business. So that one was a little shocking to be that lopsided. I didn't expect that
I
one.
agree. I agree with you. All right. Well, if you are following along, make sure you give us your standout and sirens. I'm always curious what has everyone's attention as we head into week 12. And week 12 sets up for potential playoff knockout games, or could also be in some ways beneficial to the SEC, because if a couple of these big dogs end up with more losses, the conference will likely get more teams in the playoff. Y'all, chaos everywhere. But let's start with Oklahoma versus Alabama. They are headed to Tuscaloosa. Our friends over at FanDuel have Alabama favored 5.5 right now, with the over under set at 46.5. But I think that you have really pointed out the key piece of this thing, in that Alabama's offense has surprisingly been more one-dimensional than you would expect. They are number 15 in the SEC. 15 out of 16, y'all, in yards per carry with just 3.5. They are number 14 out of 16 in the SEC in rushing yards per game with just 111.9. Now, conversely, your quarterback is playing lights out. Ty Simpson leads all FBS quarterbacks with 780 passing yards right now. And Oklahoma's defense has been susceptible to the pass. They're allowing 253 passing yards per SEC game. So in conference play, that's definitely been something that quarterbacks have found success in. That puts them at 12th in the conference. Now, a benefit to Oklahoma, they are coming off a bye week. Meanwhile, Alabama just had to play kind of a weird feel game against LSU, one that is typically a bit more competitive, but still Oklahoma will come into this one a bit more rested. And I think in their game prior, the heightened emotion, the win over Tennessee, which included 3 turnovers by Tennessee's offense, this Oklahoma defense is going to come out, real eager and trying to force Ty Simpson into mistakes, which is not something that he does very often. Just 1 interception on the year. So what stands out to you about this one?
Ty Simpson versus Oklahoma's defense.
Yeah.
No,
That's
Grant
it.
Venables, he's a really good defensive-minded guy, right? Like, go ask Clemson, since he's been gone. Go ask Clemson about their offense coordinator, who's the head coach of Virginia now.
Yep.
Coordinators are super, super important, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you think about, you give this guy 2 weeks to prepare for this offense. And let's face it, this offense and this team, they did not just put LSU away last week. LSU was still in that ball game. And I think in a weird way, right? So it's not like they just dominated LSU to the point that with an interim head coach and basically the offense coordinator was fired a week before as well with Brian Kelly.
Yep.
So you don't even have an offensive coordinator and you go in there and you only beat them 20-9. So they had the opportunity to put up 7 points and they only put up three field goals. But what if they put those up in touchdowns? What if they had a true OC and they put touchdowns? Okay, Oklahoma has a true OC. Oklahoma has a strong arm quarterback.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Oklahoma has a great defensive front. You better find R. Mason Jr.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a game. I still think Alabama's favored, but I would not be shocked. Taylor's ringing over there.
Dang it.
I would not be shocked if
Sorry.
Oklahoma went in there and snuck this one out. But I think Alabama woke up a little bit after seeing what happened against LSU last week. They know they got to put their foot to the pedal a little bit more.
I would agree with you. I think that these 2 matchups this weekend are really interesting because it's the 2 biggest brands of the last few decades in the SEC against the 2 newcomers in Texas and Oklahoma. And I do think what's interesting is you still feel very confident that Alabama and Georgia are going to end up in the playoff. They're in the conversation as championship caliber teams, but they haven't been the most dominant teams in the conference. Texas A&M has been the most dominant team in the conference, and it's not just their undefeated record, which neither Alabama nor Georgia possess. It's how they've won these games and the variety of ways that they are finding ways to beat you, the levels of talent they have on both sides of the ball. Like, they, in my mind, are the most complete team. I'm kind of with Lane Kiffin on this one. I see Texas A&M as the number one team in the nation. I do. And you've got to win over Notre Dame that I don't think is being, prioritized as much as you would expect. But these two opportunities for Alabama and Georgia provide you, I think, the opportunity to appear more dominant, because this level of competition, especially in November when you are clearly getting the best, Texas is playing the best right now that they have all season. These are the truer tests than I think we had a month ago.
Oh, yeah. And I think they learned a year ago about just throwing teams in there because people are fussing about SEC bias or Big Ten bias. But you see teams get
Yeah.
their butts waxed in the first round of playoffs. Nobody
Yep.
wanted to see that. If you're gonna have a playoff, they have a real playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's put the eye test and everything else and everything. It's not a, stroke your ego,
Mm-hmm.
playoffs. Like playoffs are put the 12 best teams in there and see what happens.
Totally.
Not, oh, does this team deserve to be in there? No, we're not talking about deserving. No, let
Right.
your resume show that you belong to be in the playoffs.
Especially those rounds that teams are playing host. And I think a huge benefactor is that we are no longer putting the conference champions as automatic top four, because that was Clemson had no right being ranked that high last year when they barely ended up in the playoff to begin with. They had just closed the season losing to South Carolina, but they end up bumping that high. So I think the rankings being shifted that way with the conference champions is going to help in that regard. But I agree with you. I mean, I think that a lot of these teams, there are 7 in the mix right now. I think realistically 5 is where the SEC is going to end up sitting. But games like this could really shake things up, because if Alabama ends up losing to Oklahoma or Georgia ends up losing to Texas, this thing expands a little bit. It's going to have to. So that's an easy transition for us as we look to the other massive one this weekend, Texas versus Georgia. And I'm really so confused, you guys, because I was so out on Texas a few weeks ago. I just really thought it was just a fraud, and it was just too much hype in the preseason. And this year was more of a build than was, anticipated. And now we're sitting here really thinking that Texas may have a chance at Georgia. I am with our friends over at FanDuel, who are favoring Georgia by 6.5 right now. Over under set at 48.5. But, there does start to develop patterns with Oklahoma and Texas now as staples in the SEC. Georgia got them twice last year. And there is something to be said about just having teams' numbers like that. That's a very real thing. It's why Kirby keeps losing to Alabama. So does, Georgia just kind of have that edge over Texas? I lean yes. And I think specifically coming off the different level that seemed to be showcased by Georgia this past week against Mississippi State, and still a little bit of inconsistency from Texas, I just have more confidence in Georgia's preparation and level of talent in this game. But look, Texas knows what's on the line, and they still have A&M this season as well. So they're looking at this as a must win.
Yeah, this has to be a must win for Texas, but also, Georgia, because you get Georgia Tech at the end of the year.
That's
And
so true.
that's a dangerous team, right? Anytime you play an in-state rival game like that, it's not as easy as people think. I think this game, Georgia 6.5 versus Texas. I still say Texas played Mississippi State on the road, right? And
Yeah.
Mississippi State went up 17 points on Texas and had a chance to, like I said, but not for roughing the passer, they probably win that ball game convincingly, right? That changed the entire game. Georgia's not going to make that same kind of mistake.
Yeah.
Georgia's a well-disciplined football team. And I think that's the difference that separates Kirby's teams from a lot of other teams. They're not overly talented in most teams they play. They're just more disciplined.
Yeah.
Like they don't get the false starts. They don't get the, quarterback sack and all of a sudden it's about to be 3rd and 18 and you look up and your defensive back is grabbing the face mask of a defender way away from the play.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now it's a first down when you're about to get the ball back with 3 minutes to go in the game. And people know I'm talking about the Auburn Vanderbilt game, right?
Yeah.
It just goes back to discipline, right? Those things is what's tolerated by some teams, but the teams that are very disciplined, that's what made Saban's really good, is that he didn't tolerate the the negative plays are the self-inflicted plays
Yep.
where it's not because you did something with effort. No, you knew exactly what you was doing and you cost the team. So that's why his teams win in November. That's why his teams beat Texas a year ago. And you remember in Texas, there was a play that caused a big uproar, you know, when Texas fans threw stuff on the field. So then they played again in a championship game and it went toe to toe. This time you're taking a young Arch Manning into the hedges. And now I think the difference to me is I don't think Texas defense can slow down Georgia's offense. I just sold on Texas defense this year. Like, I was sold a little bit after the first game against Ohio State. Like, dang, man, they did a really good job against Ohio State. But you gave up 30-something to Vandy. You gave up 30 whatever it was to Mississippi State.
Yeah.
You know, people say what they want to say about Bobo at Georgia, which I don't know why this man gets so much criticism. And all he does is dial up and they're putting 30, 40 points up on a weekly basis.
That's
like,
true.
what else you want? Do you want? I don't know. Like, you want to score points, right? He's scoring points. But I think Texas is going to lose this game in between the hedges, and I think it knocks them out the playoffs.
Ooh. Do you see more potential? I know you love when I spit questions like this at you. Do you see more potential in Texas beating Georgia or Texas A&M?
It's the Texas A&M game in Texas this year, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Texas can beat A&M in Texas more so than Texas beating Georgia in Georgia.
In Athens. Okay, so location comes into play a lot. Let me confirm that for any fans that are out there yelling at us that that's not right. But no, because it was at Kyle Field last year.
Yeah, I believe they play in Texas at the end of this year.
That game's going to be nuts.
And for Texas A&M, win or lose.
Yeah, it's in Austin.
Yeah, win or lose that game, they're still in the playoffs. They're still in the SEC championship game.
A&M?
A&M.
Yeah.
Right? For Texas, though, like, they, depending on what happens if they lose to Georgia and what the score is, if it's a walk-off field goal or something, and they go beat A&M, then they may be back in consideration of being in the playoffs. But if you do that, how are you going to look at a 2-loss Vanderbilt team and put Texas above a 2-loss Vanderbilt team? Even though
you won't. Vandy will be in too. Vandy's got to win out. And Vandy will play Kentucky, which has Kentucky figured something out or not? And also, do you trip against Tennessee Tech? Be careful. And then close the year with Tennessee. But Vandy very much has a real seat at the table at this point. It's wild.
Oklahoma beats Alabama, then they have to be considered at the time in, but then Oklahoma still has another tough game as well.
They close the year with LSU. Who do they have between now and then?
See, they already had their bye. Their bye was this week, right?
Yeah.
So they just close with LSU then. Okay.
And Ole Miss is you can pretty much bank that they're in. So, and does that truth impact Lane Kiffin's future? Like the fact that they've made it, does that keep him in Oxford?
Lane Kiffin is so funny. Lane Kiffin shoots so many shots on Twitter.
I love it. You saw the freeze warning tweet?
Yeah, I saw the freeze warning. I saw the way he shot at Derek Nix. People stopped calling me talking about Derek Nix is at Auburn. He keeps receipts, right?
I love it, honestly.
And,
it ain't that serious,
jumping
y'all.
in people's engagement photos.
So funny.
Funny. What if they didn't like him and he jumped in their photo?
Then I suggest you don't propose to me on the field at Ole Miss if you don't like Lane Kiffin. I think that goes hand in hand.
I'll tell you, what if Lane Kiffin's in their photo, and then all of a sudden, he bounced and goes somewhere else, and they're gonna be mad at him trying to the photo or trying to, cover him out of the photo.
And see, that sets a bad precedence for their marriage that you can bail on commitment.
Right. Exactly.
Now he's staying. We figured it out because he jumped in the picture about commitment. That was his sign that he's staying in Oxford.
Hey, I think he's staying. I think I'm about 90% that he's probably staying in Oxford because I think the one thing that was going to drive him out, right? Of course, the salary, what Florida was offering is crazy, right? An opportunity to be in the state of Florida. But He's built something at Ole Miss. He can become legendary at Ole Miss. He can have a statue of him at Ole Miss.
Yep.
Um, I know that part of it has to play into what he's built, and he changed his life there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Had he been in Florida, had he been in, some of these other bigger places or whatever, would he still been the same wow Lane Kiffin? And I think sometimes where you are plays a big role in who you are, right? And
Mm.
I think him being there, it's not a ton to do, but it's enough to do, but it's not a ton to keep your focus, saying distracted. And I
Yeah.
think it made him focus more on his family. It brought him back to his faith,
Mhm.
which made him connect with his players better, connect with his kids better, connect with, him and his wife had went through whatever, where, whatever's there connecting.
Yeah.
So I think from that standpoint of, and his son is quarterback in high school, I think that's what keeps him in Oxford. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't think he's moving.
And all the conversation that it can't be done at Ole Miss, if they keep trending the way they are and have success, like he's going to prove that he can. Like, what does he need to bounce for? And I do think that, and I'm so sorry, LSU fans, but I think LSU is making it an easier decision for him by the way they're going about this whole thing. Because
Oh
when
yeah.
that first happened, I thought it was gonna be easier for him to stay in Oxford when it was just the Florida decision. When that's what you're weighing, given what's going on, in the timeline of his personal life, his kids' age, all of that, I thought that one was easy. And then LSU opened up, and I was like, "Oh boy, I think that's a totally different situation for Lane Kiffin." It makes it a little bit easier, even proximity-wise, Mississippi and Louisiana for his family if they did try and go back and forth so his kids didn't have to uproot school. But the way that LSU is going about this whole thing, our friend Peter Burns is calling it the Cajun Game of Thrones. And that's exactly what this madness is. You may have been the best P4 coaching job on the market, and you are making it so messy that no one's going to want to touch it. Like, I genuinely think that they are involving too much drama, politics. Now there's legal issues going on with Brian Kelly. Who is even leading the charge? Your AD gets canned. Your governor is kind of being wild publicly, going on Pat McAfee's show. Like, what in the Cajun Game of Thrones is going on here? And if I'm a top candidate, do I have enough confidence that that really is going to be the platform for me to go thrive that it was perceived to be 5 years ago? LSU is getting scary close to making this a non-appealing job.
Well, they're out on Dan Lannon probably would have took a shot at that job,
Mm,
just because you see Oregon struggling a little bit now, right?
yeah.
And I think with that job opening, I think it would have propelled him back into the SEC. I think Dan Lannon would have really took a shot at that job. I think, like you said, the way they're going about it now, I think he's probably out. The one person I can see taking that job that's already been a head coach is James Franklin, because he took
Okay.
over a worse situation in Penn State, right?
Yeah.
With all the sanctions and all the different things going on there at Penn State at the time. What he took over there and averaged winning seasons and everything with not the same talent as Ohio State. I don't care what anybody say. Penn State never had the same talent as Ohio State or Michigan.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But he took them there. So I can see him saying, hold on, Virginia Tech. LSU might be a bet, because he keeps talking about want to compete for a championship. If
Yeah.
he goes to a school, if you looked at Virginia Tech and you looked at LSU, which one are you closer to winning a national championship with?
For sure, LSU.
You know what I'm saying? So if that's what he
Yeah.
said on ESPN the day that he was shooting College Game Day, then that propels him that direction, right?
Right.
So I could see him being there. And then if they miss on that, then I can see somebody like Joe Brady saying, "Well, shoot, this may be my opportunity. You know,
Yeah.
I, I'm gonna take it. I don't care about all the stuff. I can't control that anyways. But I know there's talent in LSU. I've been on the national championship team. I was the offensive coordinator in 2019. They won it. I can see him saying, "Hey, give me the job. Let me take it. Let me have my opportunity. If you want to pay me a bunch of money, make my contract incentive based. You won't give me a low buyout, and let me have my first opportunity and go prove it." So I can see that
Perhaps.
route, because they got to spend so much money I don't know why they thought that Kelly would take a one large payout. The dude's not hurting for money, people. If he was hurting for money, then yes, he may have done that. He's not hurting for money. So you think he's going to take a $24 million pay cut? He's just going to ride it out for 5 years. You're going to pay him $4 million. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the fact that you still got to pay him that, you may have to go chase a Joe Brady.
Dang, you're right. Or a John Summerall, who I think initially the fan base thought they were entitled almost to someone of a higher echelon of coaching, but his familiarity in the state as of late, and also with the SEC, and then given the temperament that has been around Baton Rouge, that one maybe becomes more in play than it had been when the job first opened.
Yeah, he would take it, and he would take it. Yeah,
of course.
So it's people like that wouldn't care, but you're not going to get a Lane Kiffin in that situation.
That's what I'm saying. I think that they are kind of shooting themselves in the foot, because when it first started, I fully believed LSU was in the driver's seat, and I don't know that they have stayed there. I'm actually pretty confident they haven't. So it's all going to unfold pretty wildly, as it tends to do every year, because there are a lot of crazy scenarios that still could play out even outside of the SEC. I mean, is the ACC going to be in this thing? I know people want to talk about like the conference champions are guaranteed in. It is the 5 highest ranked conference champions. And if the ACC keeps messing around and you've got a 5-loss team that somehow wins the conference championship, but an undefeated JMU that wins the Sun Belt, and an American conference winner in USF that has 2 losses, I mean, like, that's an insane possibility, but y'all, it's a possibility. I think there's a misconception that all Power 4 conference champions are automatically in. That's what's expected with the highest 5 ranked. But the ACC is kind of messing around right now. And you could end up with like a Duke Georgia Tech ACC championship, and neither team really have a strong enough resume to keep 2 group of 5 teams out. It's wild, you guys. But
I would say Georgia Tech, maybe what they're 8-1.
They have lost 1 game at this point, yes.
Yeah,
but
so Georgia Tech, if they lost to Georgia in a close one and won the ACC, I would say they deserve to be in.
But if they lose the ACC championship,
but if they lose
Duke,
the ACC championship,
who has 4 losses,
all right, yeah, then you can't go. Yeah, you can't get in.
Things get weird. Things get weird, you guys. And then obviously the coaching stuff and the ripple effects off of that. So all that means is you better be subscribed to SEC State of Mind, because we're going to continue to bring all the action, insight, and breakdowns, along with some inside scoop. Our friend David Pollack provided some today, specifically Lane Kiffin intel. So make sure you check that episode out as well. If you're listening as a podcast, please make sure you subscribe wherever you're getting us. That's the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, iHeart, Belief's website. If you are a video person and you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. You can also subscribe on YouTube. It's not going to blow up your phone. It's not going to steal your data. It's just going to let you know when we put episodes out, and you're helping us be able to continue the show. So we greatly, greatly appreciate that. Once again, we are presented by FanDuel and are so appreciative of our partnership, so we can keep bringing you this action week in and week out. Jay, it's a bye week for you this week. What the heck are you going to do?
Man, probably just watch some ball and crank up the grill. The grill is in the grill been in a shop, you know. No, not personally in the shop. It's just been a shop. I haven't been using it.
So, like it's been neglected.
Yeah, it's been neglected.
Yeah.
You know, so
fire it up.
You know, probably like my feet is, but you know, but so
that's just another level.
Maybe I can, you know, I started last week with my health stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to take care of myself a little bit. I need to get a massage. I need to get a, you know, my pedicure, get, you know, all done, you know, get my, you know,
all the things
stuff, you know.
Little TLC. You've earned it. You've earned it. The football season ain't for the weak, and we aren't done. We got a lot of ball ahead of us. I will be on the call for USF versus Navy. If you have not been paying attention to what's happening in the American Conference, you are missing out. It is a very, very tight race right now with some really impressive teams, South Florida and Navy being 2 of them. So really excited for that matchup. We will be on noon Eastern on ESPN2, and then we will be back with more SEC State of Mind intel for you next Tuesday. So make sure you don't miss it. Until then, we'll see you.
Peace.